Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we just put the Cavant 1 module on here, and of course we need to extend our magnetometer booms. There we go. That'll be a little bit better. Now, we currently have this tug on here, but we also have this, which is functionally just a fuel tank, although this engine is technically active. We should really shut down this engine. No doubt about that. But our next module that we're going to put on is going to be the Cavant 2 module, which is extremely cleverly named. No doubt about that. And this module is actually substantially different. So it's this blue module here. We can see that there's this conical portion here, goes down into this straight portion, and then this kind of looks like a science lab to me. And then it bows out and then back in down to the size of the docking station. And there's definitely some smaller non-gigantor solar panels on here as well. So this goes into this side module at a 90-degree angle from the current core module and Cavant module. So that would be the idea here. This contained a high-resolution camera, spectrometers, X-ray sensors, so more scientific equipment. I think we're going to have that be our science lab. So that'll be absolutely fine. Let's head on back to the Space Center at this time. And we may have to get rid of or further move that existing fuel tank module. We're going to have to get rid of it eventually, right? Because we're going to want to dock up a couple of Soyuzes and a space shuttle to this thing eventually. Oh, that's going to be exciting. Building the space shuttle is going to be interesting. No doubt about that. Let's hop into the VAB. Let's get ourselves the Cavant 1 module loaded up here. We'll base this off of that. So let's open up... Where are we? I saw it here. There we go. We're going to load up the Cavant 1 module. So that'll be absolutely fine. I'm going to delete this fairing because we're going to have to redo it. And this module is going to require some substantial rework. So we're going to get rid of this. What is the core part here? Okay, we're just going to rebuild the module from the ground up, and we're going to have the Cavant 2 here. But I'm going to have this be a conical thing, kind of like this. And then up at the top here, if we look at the diagram here, this looks to me like this might have been a docking port up here. I don't know if it was or not. So let's see, Cavant 2 did this. This is a Quail? How did we get to Quail from Cavant 2? Okay, now I'm very confused and distracted. That's mildly exciting. Is there a mention of Quail on here? Control F, Quail. No. Actually, yes. Which was used for hatching and raising quail. Okay, so I must have accidentally clicked on this. Fantastic. That is absolutely okay. So, sure. No problem whatsoever here. This is actually an airlock. Got it. That makes sense then. So that being an airlock is reasonably fine. Do we have a similar sort of module? I don't really think we do. No, not really at this moment. Okay, so we're going to have to go for something that is kind of covered yet retractable. Maybe we would go for like a grabbing unit and just not dock to it and be like, this is an airlock, and it opens very strangely. Maybe. Let's see here. No, we don't have any sort of like the covered docking port, which would be okay for that. In this situation, the airlock is here on the side, right? So maybe we just have this be domed. That is way too big of an aerodynamic nose cone. But maybe we just slot in a small aerodynamic nose cone. So where's like the miniaturized rocket cone? Or this one here? Sure. And we just do something kind of like this, and we're just like, yeah, this is how this works, definitely. Although maybe this would be better off as a hemispherical fuel tank. So one of these like Oscar Zeros. I like that better visually. So that'll work. And of course, this is going to be Cavant 2. So after we're done with this conical portion, looking at our reference image here, we've got a straight portion, and then this basically goes directly out into what we are calling our science lab. And then we've got our 2 solar panels sticking off of the science lab. So that'll be fine. We've got a relatively small portion here. This could be a battery. So we would put something like a rechargeable battery pack. Something like a reaction wheel module, in theory, could go here. But for now, we're not going to do that. The real question that I'm having right now is how are we actually going to attach this? Okay. We're going to need to put on an octo here. So we'll put an octo 2 right there, about like this. And then we've got a rechargeable battery bank. We'll need a decent amount of space here. Now, this is a hemispherical liquid fuel tank. Is there such a thing as a hemispherical RCS fuel tank? I mean, there's these minified monoprop tanks and the roundified tanks. And these are definitely something that we can utilize. But no, we may just want to have this be an RCS tank here. Not those sizes, that size. Okay, so something kind of like this could definitely work. And then we would go down to science and we put in a mobile processing lab like this. Yes, it jumps directly out, but that is my read on this diagram right here. And also in the Cavant 2, we can see it definitely does jump out here, right? Although, looking at this, it looks like this is the the conical portion here, right? And then this is the airlock up here. This is the portion that I read as straight here, and then it jumps out, and then it really looks like it jumps out again. We're probably going to omit that for sake of the science module here. So then we would certainly be considering putting in something like these photovoltaic panels. We'd put them approximately here. And then we would, of course, need RCS on this. So looking at the diagram here, we can see there's definitely some roundified tanks over here and up here as well. And then these look like those are the RCS thrusters. So that would be absolutely fine. We can do something along those lines. We can have some minified and roundified RCS tanks here. So RCS, and we would want to have some thruster blocks. I'm going to do 4. And I kind of want larger thruster blocks than that. Yeah, about like this. We'll put those there, and that's how we're going to actually steer this thing as we get in close. Because we're going to have to come in butt first here, which is going to be mildly awkward for us, definitely. So my question now is, if we were to put this on like this, yeah, we're going to have to bow that out. Okay, noted. And we know that this has an adapter that brings it down. Right? So we have an adapter that would be something kind of like... I'd be looking for not even like this guy. Something kind of like this? That would be about right. Ish. Approximately correct. Which is the best kind of correct. Yeah. So something like this would be our Cavant 2 module. Now, I do see in our reference image that there are some additional monoprop thrusters over here. I might omit those, or we might include those slightly differently. Those would end up being something along the lines of... Where are those monoprop thrusters at? Okay, they're in command and control, of course. Okay, let's just grab them this way. So we would put those in something like this. Cool. And now for the minified and maxified fuel tanks. Now, looking at this, it looks like they're in basically clusters of 4. So we've got the small ones up here. So we would do... I want this in this form of symmetry. Oh, that didn't go where I wanted it to. So we would do something kind of like... you can attach there. There you go. Cool. Something kind of like this. And then out here, we would do bigger ones. So roundified tanks. One here and one here. And then we do smaller ones. One here and one here. So it ended up being something kind of like that. Okay, cool. We can see that there's definitely what looks an awful lot like a mystery goo container here, but it's obviously not. There's this panel here. I think we're going to omit that for right now. This looks like it might be an extendable antenna, potentially. We could definitely include one of those on here. So that would end up being something like a communitron. We really only need one of those, and that would end up going about here, like this, and this does not always need to be constantly extended. So we'll call this good for our Cavant 2. We'll attach this to our proton rocket like so. Although I may actually want to have this be from this direction up top, like that. Okay, so something along the lines of this. This is a tug, and that is, of course, eventually going to have to be removed. Now the real question is, this is going to be coming in butt first, right? So maybe we actually want to have this be a larger adapter so that we have a little bit more space to work with, because I'm a little concerned about space right now. So this would end up being something kind of like this. That's too much space, I think. That is too much space. What if we just did a Rockamax brand adapter, and this doesn't have fuel in it, which is okay. So we don't actually need fuel here. So what if we brought this to here, and then we, of course, we're going to remove this. Yes, I think this is better on the space front. So that'll be fine. Do we want to have a small adapter here? I think the answer to that is actually yes. So we would do basically what we had down there, but here, just to smooth out this transition, that little bit here. So it would end up being something kind of like this, would be our Cavant 2 module. Now, of course, we're going to have to build our fairing, and we would bring that out to be about here in order to get past the solar panels. And it would end up being something kind of like this for our Cavant 2 module. Our proton rocket will be, of course, absolutely fine for this. We'll be able to lift this with no problem. We could definitely lift this hemispherical fuel tank without any fuel. We would want to have monoprop in all of these monoprop tanks, for sure. And it would end up being something kind of like this. I think that is acceptable. Let's save this and put it out on the pad. The real question now is, how would this launch timing look? And the answer is probably awful. Probably awful. We'll see. So let's load this on in, and we could try to launch it into a reasonable timing. We could use MechJeb to calculate that, or we could just eyeball it and do an inclination adjustment. And checking in here, yeah, we can see here, this is the current orbit, and this is the Woomerang launch site. Although I put this out on the pad here. So this is going to be an equatorial launch. It is never actually going to be useful. Well, we would have to do a big inclination change. We could try it and see just how much it's going to need, because we're going to need to do an equatorial launch for our space shuttle, and then inclination change up to it. Or equatorial-ish, anyway. So we're currently located where? Here. So we can see that we are pretty far off of ideal launch timing here, right? No doubt about that. So we can set this guy as our target. And we would want to warp for a while at this point. So we would need to wait until we are basically underneath this line, right? That would be the goal. And we can see this passing over, but precession is going to be a problem for us. So obviously, this timing would be really rough if we were trying to launch directly to the station. We are not attempting to launch directly to the station. Okay, so we're going to want to go a decent amount north here. We're going to want to go like this direction-ish. So let's kill rot, let's throttle up, and let's call this good enough. We're going to have to do an inclination change, basically no matter what, but we're going to try to angle down this 135-degree marker and see about getting it kind of close-ish. So we're going to launch this here, and off we... Why do we have Jeb in this? Okay. We're bringing this right on back down. Because Jeb is not supposed to be here. Fantastic. A successful landing. Okay, we're going to recover this vessel. We don't want Jeb here. We want this automated. Get out of here, Jeb. Oh, good thing I noticed that when I did and not like 20 to 30 seconds later, because that would have been very awkward indeed. We might have just like ditched the fairing and had Jeb bail. I don't know. And then just tried to keep going. It would have been very strange. No doubt about it. So we're going to launch this again. Do we want to take this up to Woomerang? What is this timing? You know what? If we have to go into the VAB anyway, we may as well launch this at Woomerang. It's going to be a slightly better launch for us there anyway, most likely. So let's bring this over to Woomerang. Let's make sure that Jeb is not in here. This is intended to be launched empty, uncrewed. And we're going to take this right on up. We will bring crew up here later, after the station is more assembled. By more assembled, I mean fully assembled. This isn't exactly, you know, blow for blow, but that'll be fine. So let's bring this on up. I want to check our timing here. It's probably awkward, but our timing was awkward before if we were going to launch from Woomerang. So let's see what this is going to end up being as soon as it gets loaded in. Woomerang is a little bit more resource intensive, no doubt about that. And let's see what we've got here. Okay. So taking a look at this, this is where we are right now. We're going to have to warp for a while. We're going to set this as our target for now. Yeah, we're going to have to warp for quite a while. So let's bring this up to 1000x. And our launch timing is going to be here in a bit. Back up to 1000x, and we're not quite there yet. Let's just park the camera here. About now, actually. Hang on. Let's go. Look at where the station is, actually. This is maybe going to be a little awkward because I didn't plan to launch directly to the station. But the station is nearly overhead here. So that's fascinating. We're going to be going on, I believe, this 135 degree heading. We could just burn towards target right now, at least for a while. So let's head up over here and burn towards target. Actually, no. We don't want to burn towards target yet. The target isn't quite overhead. We want to be heading this direction, ever so slightly. Please give me a little bit finer control. That would be great. Okay. So that apoapsis is lifting on off here. And we're going to just head off towards the north here. This is the way we want to be going. Although we're drifting on this right now. I want to be right up over this way for the moment. And then once this passes the 90 degree plane, that's when we're going to start burning at target. So we want to get ourselves a good amount of altitude here, no doubt about that. And let's see how this timing is. It might be a little bit awkward for us. It was not intended to launch directly into this orbit, right? So we'll see what this ends up looking like. We do have another 20 seconds of boost time left here. Let's go ahead and point at target now. This should be reasonably fine. We are going the correct directionality. We're going to be, I think, a bit behind the target here, so we're going to have to twist our orbit on that, I'm guessing. And yeah, we can see we're a little off on that descending node, but that's not shocking either. Okay, so let's push this right on up. And side boosters are going to detach shortly here. Side boosters are out of here. I think they collided with each other a little bit there. And of course, we need to turn this down to, not thrust limit. We need to gimbal limit it down to 10%. There we go. And we're just continuing to burn a little bit towards target. We're going to want to get down basically towards the horizon now, though, because we want to push ahead of the target. We don't want to push exactly where the target is. So we want to be angling a bit ahead of this target right now. And that is indeed the goal. We're in space. We can definitely deploy our fairing. That'll be fine. We can also deploy our solar panels. And we need to get a good amount of horizontal speed. We don't have much of that right now, which is why we are, of course, heading over to horizontal velocity up. Checking in here, we can see our descending node is decreasing nicely. That's solid. And we're going to have to adjust that for sure. I want to see where we're going to be when we arrive here, though. That's going to be interesting. We're probably going to have to do some radial burn to get this correct, though. Okay, we're about to have this primary booster cut out. There we go. And off goes our second stage. And of course, we've still got our tug in here too. So no problem whatsoever there. And we're just attempting to push up over this way a bit. Our descending node is still dropping, but it's going to be problematic eventually. I'm not too concerned about that right now. I just want to see what kind of orbit this puts us into. We can always correct it later, right? So we know that we want to push this apoapsis out a little bit further, but what we really, really want here... I'm wondering... I mean, our orbital velocity is going down right now, but that's fine. We have lots of time to apoapsis. We need to build up a lot of horizontal speed, and I think that's just what we're going to do. We're just going to build horizontal speed here right now, although we may want to be considering bringing this over this way, because we're at the descending node right now, right? So I wouldn't mind going to normal plus here and doing a bit of inclination change right now. Right at the descending node is the time to do that. So let's bring this inclination on down. About 7 degrees to go here. 6 degrees to go. And we can see that this node is, or rather the Mir core module is significantly ahead of us right now. We don't have enough horizontal speed, but that's okay. So 4 degrees to go. We're past the descending node at this point, so we're not going to get this perfect, but it's definitely going to be a lot better. We're going to want to go to horizontal velocity up once this stops going down. Okay, 1.5 degrees off. That's not too bad. And we're going to call that good. We're going to head up to horizontal velocity up. Beautiful. Our descending node is still going to be changing a little bit. But that's definitely a lot better on that front. So now we need to push up our horizontal speed, right? We're working on catching up with this thing. And that is absolutely necessary from here. We've still got 1,800 meters per second, but we have a long ways to go here on our horizontal speed. So let's burn here and bring that apoapsis up. And we'll see what this ends up looking like. Okay. So we can see our separation coming on down here. We may want to end up burning a bit radially, but I think for now, we'll just call this good. And we just know that we launched a little bit late. That's not shocking in the slightest. So at this apoapsis, let's go ahead and add a maneuver here to push this on out. The question is, when do we want to do this maneuver, right? Or do we want to do it like back over here? Hypothetically. And do a radial orbital twist. Something a bit more along the lines of this. I don't like how that's going. Okay. So for now, we'll just call this good. And we're going to need to circularize-ish here, but we don't want to actually circularize, right? So we're going to need to, if we did circularize, it would end up looking like this. We might be able to get there with a bit of radial, but this would not be ideal under any circumstances whatsoever. Although, actually, that's not so bad. That's not so bad at all. This is definitely viable. Yeah, we'll have a pretty decent relative speed differential, but without having that big inclination change. I don't hate that. 500 meters per second for that interrupt here is quite fair. We can do corrective steering once we get down here, and it'll be absolutely fine. I'm not concerned about that. No, that looks good. Okay, let's bring this on around. We should probably consider extending our antenna. That would help. So extend our antenna for right now. And let's warp on over. Cool. So let's get this burn done. It's going to be a relatively hefty one. And we've got about 50 seconds here. 40, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Beautiful. Relatively hefty burn, as I said, so we're going to physics warp this a bit. And we're going to need to build up a fair amount of speed here. But this will be absolutely fine. I'm actually surprised that the radial worked this well. But okay, we'll take it. I expected it to work, but I expected it to be quite a lot of delta V. Okay, we'll call this good enough. Yeah, 9.9 kilometers. We can definitely work with that. So we would end up warping... Actually, this is going to be in 21 minutes. Yeah, that would be right. So we're going to warp down over here. I just wanted to check to see if we're going to need another orbit, and we're not. So no phasing orbit required here. Looks good. We're going to bring this right on in. And at this point, let's switch into target mode. And we're going to need to do some corrective steering. We're moving quite quickly here. So we're absolutely going to want to push this node over onto the retrograde node here. So something along the lines of this. So just doing some correction and braking simultaneously. Bringing this node right on over to be about here. That'll work. What are we at? 7.6 kilometers. So we're going to need a fair amount more, but we'll warp on in. Beautiful. And we can see that we're going to need quite a lot of additional corrective steering. This is unsurprising. Where is... There it is. Okay. So we're going to do some corrective steering out over here. Pushing this right on over. We can see we're still about 10 kilometers away here. So this is reasonably fine. Just changing our angle of attack ever so slightly here. There we go. That should do. 1.5 kilometers. I like it. So we're going to warp on in over here. And we're going to, of course, be heading to relative velocity minus. For the time being, we're not using any of our monoprop. That will be used heavily in the docking procedure. Okay, so we're going to need to continue to brake here. We're still at 44.2 meters per second, and let's get some corrective steering ongoing. Okay, we got a small freeze there as we quick saved. Or actually, we loaded in the station, I think, not a quick save. And by quick save, of course, autosave, because quick saves are manually done. Okay, so we can now see that we're about 1.9 kilometers away from this with a separation of about 100 meters, which is not bad at all. Let's warp in to under a kilometer apart. Okay. And we're going to continue to do a corrective burn here. We don't really care which side node we end up docking to, because this is going to establish what direction is what direction, right? So that'll be fine. We can warp in a little bit closer here, but we're moving kind of quickly. Let's bring this down to under 10 meters per second for sure. It would suck to collide here and blow everything up. Okay. Doing a little bit more corrective steering here as we continue to brake. Okay. Let's just bring this right on around and kill our relative velocity. Cool. So we now need to figure out where we need to dock, and the answer is right down here. Okay. Well, that is close on our relative velocity, but it's not quite done. So, this docking is going to be interesting. For the time being, I would like to retract these Gigantors just to be safe. We can also retract these ones, but I don't think that should be necessary. You know, really, at this point, we can do that, and then we can set this guy as our target. We can point at target. We want to be controlling from here, though, which is going to be awkward for us. No doubt about it. This fuel is no longer necessary, and this tug isn't necessary either. So, to that end, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to undock this right about now. And we don't have power for very long on this, right? So with this undocked, we're going to head over towards retrograde. We want to clear this. And we want to just get some speed going here. Ooh. That's awkward. Okay. So we're just going to get some speed going and get this deorbiting. And then we'll swap back over here in a moment. We'll let it unload for right now. But we just want to deorbit this. So get it down to the periapsis height being low enough, right? So we just want to get this out of here so we don't have to worry about it. 100 kilometers. It's now officially going to be in Atmo. But let's just put it on a collision course. 30 kilometers, and there we go. It's going to collide. So now we need to grab the Cavant 2. So we'll switch to that. Perfect. And we need to get this under control, right? And we'll have to do this with RCS. Okay. So where is the station? We got knocked a little ways away from it. There it is. Okay, so we need to go to target velocity minus. We are controlling from here. Okay. 4.2 meters per second, huh? Let's see what's what. Cool. So now we want to come in towards the target. We're just inverted here. That seems fine. So at this point, we can just sit at target velocity minus. We're moving in at 2 meters per second. So we can rotate this a bit. And we can warp in a bit. We're going to need to kill our relative velocity again, of course, as we come in. But I'm just letting us get a wee bit closer here. So, or actually relative velocity minus is where we want to be. But what I really want to do here is adjust us to be going this direction. There we go. That's much better. So we're going to be coming in like so. I'm going to rotate us so that our solar panels are going, I think, this direction. I don't think it really matters all that much. But I'm just going to keep on altering. Everything is reversed here. Okay. I'm going to keep on altering this and right. We need to turn around here. So we need to be facing away from no, we need to be facing towards target. There we go. This is the direction we need to be going. And now we need to head in very, very gently. Altering our trajectory here. I'm a little concerned about this guy, but we need to have this be our target. Okay, docking forces. Come on, docking forces. You got this. Okay, we'll have to adjust our angling here. There we go. We are docked up. So that is our Cavant 2 module at this point. So we've got Cavant 1 here. We've got Cavant 2 here. Perfect. This is, of course, going to be gotten rid of. And I'm actually just going to undock this, I think, at this point. I guess we could grab the fuel up here. Not that there's going to be much there. Sure. That's going to take a while to transfer over. But it is time to put a cut in here. We do need to get paid for this module, so let's grab that real quick. Boom. There we go. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. This Gigantor is going to be mildly awkward. These are going to be like clipping together. I didn't think of that. Okay. We may need to change the angling on this. I'm going to retract this, and I'm just going to undock this unit here. And then we're going to rotate it. We're going to reselect this as a target. Point at target. No, control from here. Control from here. There you go. Okay. Docking forces are happening. So we're just going to redock this on a 90-degree angle, right? Come on, docking forces. There we go. So with that on a 90-degree angle, we can now extend out these solar panels without any problem. There we go. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.